afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Bayou Bets for Monday, November the 21st. Zach Ewing here with Spencer the Guru Urquhart and our producer, Zoe Collins-Rath. Jim Derry will be along a little later. I think that if the Saints win, Jim can't come on because he'd be too happy. It'd be totally against his personality. So maybe that's why he's just going to miss the first part of the show.
Yeah, you can't be Derry Downer when they win. So.
Yeah, I guess not. They look pretty, and even Andy Dalton looked good. He's going to have to backtrack on Andy Dalton. So Jim will be along in 20 minutes or so. I hope I'm saying it right. Shika says hi, hello. Just got done watching the USA with a somewhat disappointing draw against Wales to open its World Cup campaign. Did either of y'all actually watch this? Are you red-blooded Americans or not?
I watched it.
Okay.
It was pretty interesting.
I kind of didn't have a choice because the game was on in the office, but
that's what I like to hear.
I mean, I'd rather not.
That's what I like to hear.
I mean, listen, I'd rather not watch soccer. There's only one football, and that's American football.
Ooh, man. Jim, we don't need Jim. Zoe has just enough soccer.
I don't understand the people around the world who complain about us calling it soccer because, number one, we're not the only ones who do that. Canada and Australia both do that. Number two, the term soccer came from Britain. They called it association football versus rugby football. The middle of the word association, SOC, that's where the word soccer came from. So they complain about us calling it soccer. I don't get that. But at the same time, you can't sit here and tell me there's only one football when 5 billion people around the planet play the other one.
Listen, this type of football is designed for people that do not have good hand-eye coordination. So that's why they kick a ball around. Unless you're the goalie, that's it.
So I take it you've never played soccer before on that?
Only in gym.
Okay, because I mean, I guess technically it's foot-eye coordination, but it's the same concept, but you absolutely need it. So Nick fell asleep at his desk watching it. Glorified kick. Y'all are heathens, man.
Thank you guys.
U.S. dominated the first half, but only got one goal out of it. Stupid foul at the end gave Wales back a goal. Wales was much better in the second half. Anyway, USA plays England on Friday. I'm a little down. I got to say, I'm a little down. But I will say that Bayou Bets is brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook. Go to NOLA.com/Caesars. Bet against the U.S. We'll stop talking about it if the U.S. goes out. At least stop talking about it as much. I need Gabe Henderson here. Use promo code NOLAFULL for that. And or go to LSUposter.com if you prefer 3 LSU American Football Championship posters. You can get those as well at LSUposter.com for signing up and making your first bet with Caesars. Now, not during the World Cup. They're mutually exclusive. During the World Cup, you gotta do both. You can hate soccer, but you got to watch the USA. It's like your duty. Spencer, what did you think of the game? Since Gabe's not here we had a World Cup preview. Gabe knows more about soccer than all of us. Spencer, what was your impression of the game?
Yeah, I feel like the U.S., they started off good, and then it looked like a pretty physical game. Both teams seemed pretty exhausted at the end. So it was disappointing, though, because it was on the way they started. They should have gotten the win, but unfortunately had the draw. I guess, a draw is better than a loss, but it's just kind of, I don't know. It's just they needed that, though. They needed that because against England, it's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. A physical game, quite a few probably minor-looking injuries at the end, but it's a concern. You play England in 4 days, and if you don't win that one, a draw would actually be okay against England. It would set you up, but yeah, and there's a reason people around the world call us stupid Americans because we're laughing at comments from people who have never played the game. All right, let's talk about the Saints. That's what everybody's here for. Saints win. Saints win, everybody. 27-20. Andy Dalton, 260 yards and 3 passing touchdowns, including, Zoe, he even went downfield a few times. This was not just the dink and dunk that Jim is always complaining about.
I mean, it was a Sunday miracle. It was a Saints team that I don't think I've seen before since I've been here. And is the Red Rifle back, or is it too early to say that?
Did he ever leave?
Yeah,
Or was he ever there in the first place? I don't know. Look, I will say this: Lithuania's soccer team is terrible. You're just digging yourself a deeper and deeper hole. Like water polo, maybe Lithuania is good at, or basketball, but not soccer. I don't know where that came from. So, yeah, I mean, but listen, the one thing is we had sort of speculated, like, if Andy Dalton struggles again, they're going to throw Jameis in there against the 49ers, and it'll be tough, and then everybody will say, I told you. Well, that's not going to happen, Spencer. I mean, I think it has to be Andy next week. I mean, he earned another start at least.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, he'll definitely be in there. But the catch was, though, in this Rams game, that Taysom Hill was much more involved as a quarterback. It was, I believe, his highest snap share under center, or he didn't throw a whole lot, but he was working in a lot more, to where I'm thinking it'll be more of a 2 QB system, to where Dalton he'll have his moments, but they don't want to lean on him per se, and probably going to have more of Taysom, I would think, against the 49ers, because that's a team that you're going to have to get creative against them if you're going to want to compete, because on paper, they're a much better team. But as we all know in the NFL, if you can get creative, anything can happen.
Yeah, and I mean, I think to your point, the play calling was much better, right? Like this was, I thought Pete Carmichael's probably his best game as a play caller. Maybe the exception of the Seattle game or the Minnesota game were both pretty good as well. But he got Taysom involved. They didn't ask Dalton to do too much, and so then when they asked him to do something, the defense wasn't sitting on it. That deep ball to Olave that was really a key play in this game. It was open.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. That Dalton was pretty much sacked at that point. He was about to get sacked and just threw it up. Olave was there and got that touchdown. I believe made it a 10-point game and swung the live betting line from -2.5 in favor of the Saints to -8.5. So that just goes to show how much of a turning point that play was.
Yeah, and look, going forward, I don't know. Any hope for this Saints season going forward? Does one win change your mind on anything, Zoe?
Not yet, because it's only one win and you got a couple more to go. But it was a great start to improve for the rest of the season. So if they can continue to do that, the Saints should be in better shape than what they were the last, let's call it 5 weeks. But only time will tell, because consistency can be difficult.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Nick said, do it again against the Niners. Look, I don't think anybody's saying Andy is great. But we're going to talk about the Niners here in a second, because they're playing tonight. Guys were getting open. That was different. I do think some of the criticism of Andy Dalton is warranted for sure. I also think some of it is a little unfair, because he's playing with a second-string offensive line. He's playing with half a starting receiver crew. The defense has not been as good as advertised, so he's had to do more. I just, again, some of that criticism is justified, Spencer. Some of it has been a little unfair.
Yeah, I had a debate with my uncle about it. He was more defending Dalton, and I was more on the side of, man, they need to just move on to Winston. This is getting old. But I will give Dalton this. He's got that savviness to it, that savvy veteran mentality, to where he knows how to not screw it up for the most part. Like, if you have a lead, he's okay. I mean, if you're having to come from behind, then no, you're done at that point. But if the defense, with a decent defense, he's probably slightly better than Winston, because Winston tends to do too much. But again, I just feel like you're gonna, against teams like the 49ers and Tampa Bay, it's going to be tough. I don't see much hope there, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think at a minimum, if you're still entertaining playoff hopes, which God bless you if you are, the Saints are a game and a half behind Tampa Bay. They're two back in the loss column, and they lost the head-to-head meeting, and so they're really 3 back in the loss column, essentially, with just 7 games to play. So I think at a bare minimum, the Saints need to sweep their remaining division games. And 2 of those they'll be favored in: home against Atlanta, home against Carolina. The third one's the Monday night game, not this coming week, but the following week, December the 5th, I think, at Tampa Bay. That may be the key to the whole season.
Yeah, I mean, DA owns Tom Brady. I mean, even in the game this year, he had a Bucs won, but it wasn't pretty. I mean, their offense struggled big time. They had to another fight break out. I mean, it's just, I think the Saints are kind of in Brady's head. It's just, man, it's got so many injuries on defense. I mean, with the Cam Jordan, Marcus Davenport, Pete Werner, Marshawn Lattimore. Hopefully those guys can be back by then. But if not, I don't see how they're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a long road. And not just you have to sweep those division games. You've got to find a couple of other wins. And the other opponents are all road games, 49ers, Browns with Deshaun Watson back, Eagles. I mean, it's not going to be easy. So speaking of the 49ers, they do play tonight. And speaking of injuries, it looks like San Francisco has caught a break. I don't know that Kyler Murray has he been ruled officially out, or is it just speculation at this point? It does not look like he'll play, and so we've seen this betting line move up to Niners -10.
Yeah, I don't think he's officially out, but all the sources are indicating that he's out. So I'd say it's an over 90% chance that he is. So yeah, that's a break for sure, because with Colt McCoy, I just don't see the Cardinals being able to do a whole lot. But I think they could maybe keep it close. So that's why I prefer the under in this game as opposed to the spread. 10 points is a lot of points.
The game is in Mexico City, by the way. It's not at either site. Nick says Murray is out. I don't think they've named inactives yet, but yeah, he's not playing. Nick, what's your take on the game as our resident 49ers fan? Tell us how confident you're feeling. I have the 49ers in Survivor tonight, so I'm a little nervous for it. But anyway, the line for next week, and this will change after the Niners play tonight. You know, it'll either tick up or tick down a point or so. But Niners at -8.5. It is a short week for San Francisco. That's to the Saints' advantage. You know, 49ers, as you said, Spencer, don't have an explosive offense. So 8.5 is a lot of points in a low-scoring game. I think the Saints, maybe, I don't know about winning, but could they cover this number, Zoe?
They can give it their best shot.
Oh, boy. There's hedging a bet if I ever heard one.
I mean, listen, sure, the Saints played great yesterday, but I'm trying to be realistic here, and I'm prepared to get my heart broken and for nothing good to come of it, and I just don't see it, and I will happily say I was wrong if I'm wrong.
Interesting. Kyle says, what did the Niners do to earn all this love? I mean, look, I think they're a good team, but you do have a point, Kyle, that they haven't looked like that world-beating team yet this year. Like, I think we all kind of think it's in them. Now, part of that's been health. They've just now kind of gotten all their pieces back. But sitting at 6-5, I don't know that anyone has said they've been great thus far. Nick says, think the Niners win, but it's closer than 10. Don't trust Jimmy GQ. So that's Monday Night Football in Mexico tonight. The rest of the NFL slate, it was a weird one, guys. The Eagles barely win. Bills and Browns play in Detroit. Falcons and Bears went back and forth. Zoe, cover your ears, but Justin Fields may not play again this year. Lions go to New York, Spencer, and upset the Giants. You were finally on the Giants bandwagon. And then how about that? The Cowboys beat the Vikings 40-3.
I don't even know what to say to this deal. I mean, this is just, just so many, I had my worst week of the year by far. I don't even want to get the big bucks. It's just, my God, so much unpredictability. I mean, I know that's the theme of the NFL, but if this week really exemplified that, I thought the Vikings, I didn't buy the Cowboys, so I thought that was a decent play. You know, of course, I thought the Giants were a safe play. Look at that. They didn't just not cover. They freaking lost, and I was on the Bears. Sorry, Zoe. I was thinking they could pull through.
Spencer was a jinx, man.
Yeah. And Jim. Don't blame just me. Jim jinxed him. So, just go to the show. You just don't know, but we'll try our best to shake back for the Thanksgiving slate this week. We'll have a full slate, all 32 teams playing.
We may have to just we're all going to have to wear the dunce cap for big bucks. Stay tuned for that because it was ugly this week. I am on the Niners -8 tonight. I got them at -8 earlier in the week, so maybe that will help a little bit. But I don't know. Zoe, weird week in the NFL.
Yeah, I was kind of not surprised that the Eagles-Colts game was as close as it was, only because I had a feeling that something would happen and the Eagles would take a while to bounce back from their previous loss.
On a short week too. Yeah.
Especially on a short week. Yeah. And I only have one word to describe Minnesota and the Cowboys. And in the Midwest, that word is oofda. So
we had an oofda.
That's
what did you hit, Uncle Big Nick? What'd you hit?
EBN's right. I mean, you can't do good every week.
We got to look at college results too, because it was almost the craziest college week in a long, long time. But a lot of these teams just barely hung on. You look at the right column there, how many dogs covered. But Michigan was able to win as a 17-point favorite with a last-second field goal. TCU able to win with a last-second field goal. Georgia, game wasn't that close, but didn't cover. Ohio State, game was much closer than it looks. They scored a defensive touchdown on the last play. Maryland was very live in that game. South Carolina scores 63 on Tennessee. That's the kind of thing that, like, Jim Derry does to people when they're wrong.
Something like that. What's happening?
Yo.
Hey, Jim.
I'm a little down, Jim. World Cup got me down.
I was going to ask. I have no idea. Is that a good tie or a bad tie?
I really think going in, I would have taken a tie, or at least wouldn't have been surprised by it. But the way the game played out, the U.S. dominates for about 60 minutes, can only get one goal, then they commit a stupid foul and give up a penalty. I'm pretty disappointed.
Let me just say, against my own better judgment, I turned it on for like 15 minutes, and I saw more flops than a LeBron James championship game. I mean, what the hell? It's like every other minute is a flop.
There were
my leg hurts. He kicked me in the leg.
There were a lot of cramps. It's 90 degrees there still, so I think that was part of it.
It was just cramps.
The refereeing was also abysmal. That referee was a peacock. All he wanted to do was be seen.
He's on NBC.
He wanted to see and be seen. Adam Svensson, 5-figure day for Nick Marsh.
True.
We like that. We like to hear that.
Jim,
want to get your thoughts real quick on the NFL slate. We were talking about how crazy the college slate was, so comment on that if you have it too. Although most of the top teams able to survive, but the NFL slate just continues to be a hard to predict league.
Yeah, as seen by my best bets of the week, they were awful. For the first time this year, I had an awful week. It is what it is. I don't know that anything super stands out. I really thought the Lions would. I told you this before. I didn't predict it in my column because I didn't have the chutzpah or whatever to pick the Lions in my column. But I told you I thought this was not a week to take teams that were close. You know, the Giants were only 3-point favorites. The Lions game doesn't really surprise me. It surprised me that the Vikings lost by as much as they did.
That's the one.
And in hindsight, though, really it was really a bad team to put in a teaser, because they were either going to come out and play really well again, or they were going to do what they did. And it was a bad spot coming off the Buffalo game. So again, hindsight's 20/20, but I really wanted to, and I did put the Eagles in the teaser and the best bets, which barely skated by, but it would have won had I put that one in there instead of Vikings, and that was my third choice. So I don't know that there were a ton of surprises this week in the NFL. I just think it was kind of the Sharps, I think, did not do very well this week. It just was one of those weeks where I don't know for sure. I'd have to go back and look, but I bet you Mabel did pretty well on Sunday. I know she did terrible on Saturday. But,
she did very bad on Saturday for sure. I do want to get to LSU, but first of all, Jim, you're not too much of a chance to be Derry Downer today, I guess, other than just the Saints. It's not going to help unless they can string together 2 or 3 of these, but a good performance yesterday.
Oh, sure. But, you know, one of the things that struck me, I said in Datitude, I played a clip from Taysom Hill basically saying, you know, I need to find the clip so I don't screw up what he said, because what he said was really kind of telling of the entire season thus far. Here it is right here. I hate to do this on live TV. I always give you crap for doing it. There was added emphasis to go out and win the football game. That might be the most ridiculous quote I've ever heard from any football player or any coach. Added emphasis, as if there was an emphasis in other games to win. I mean, so it just kind of says a lot about who the Saints are. and you don't know who they are. So it's tough to bet on or against them from a betting perspective. And it just goes to show yesterday, as bad as the Rams are, the Saints played some of their best football. I think it was the most complete game. The Raiders game was more dominant, but this game was more complete between offense and defense, I think. And it's really kind of disgusting, to be honest. If they can, why couldn't they play like this the rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean that's the frustration for sure. And I wonder if Taysom, something got lost in context there because Q Herm Edwards, right? Like, what were you guys doing before? I mean,
I play more than just that quote, so you can go listen to it if you want. I mean, it's more than I let it go on because he says some other things that kind of like boggle the mind, and then he says something along the lines of, "And we opened up the playbook." Well, you haven't opened the playbook all year. It's week 11.
I do think the play calling was much better, but it was
way better.
Where was that in Pittsburgh? That's a winnable game. Where was that at home against Baltimore, who, Baltimore dominated the game, but had you opened up the playbook, scored an early touchdown, maybe there was a chance. So Saints go to San Francisco next week. They're 8.5-point underdogs. Of course, that may go up or down based on what the Niners do tonight. But I want to move along and talk a little LSU, and I know Kyle wants to also because LSU did get the cover against UAB, which I think was that a po' boy? Was that an old-time po' boy that we decided? And also moving forward, much more important for LSU is this game at Texas A&M. LSU 9.5-point favorite. The way A&M's been playing, I was really curious to see where this number would be, guys, because I couldn't. A&M has been terrible, but they have talent. They're at home. I mean, maybe that's about right, 9.5.
Yeah, that seems a little bit, a little strong to me. I know A&M's not playing well, and that's not a game I'll touch either way. I'd like to hear what Spence says, but if I had to pick, I would probably take Texas A&M. And you're gonna make me pick in the Carville picks, I know, but that's not a line I'll touch either way because you don't know. I think LSU's gonna win, but that's a tough place to play. I've been to College Station before. It is not fun to play there, even when they're bad. So, I don't know what you think, Spence.
Yeah, I'm not as strong. Don't feel as strong about this one as I did last week. I still, if I had to pick, I think LSU will cover that because A&M, they stink. I mean, they are terrible, but they are at home, and like Jim said, College Station, it's a brutal place to go to. So even though they're out of it, I still think they could kind of be kind of a thorn in LSU's side, maybe kind of similar to Arkansas, but I don't think they'll be quite as bad as Arkansas, being that the weather shouldn't be a factor, I wouldn't think. So I still think they'll cover, but I probably won't touch it.
Does Texas A&M have 5 wins or 6?
They've only got 4.
Oh, they're not even bowl eligible.
Okay, so they can't even go to a bowl, so they have no reason to even try.
I mean, there is a path for 5 and 7 teams. I don't know what their APR is like. It has the best APR 5 and 7 teams can get in, but they played. Who did they play last week? UMass, and it was like.
Yeah, it was ugly.
I mean, especially after half. Like some people, I think, stayed to watch the halftime show because they had a buddy in the band or whatever, and then the place just cleared out. Jimbo would love to. Jimbo would love to do a lot of stuff that Jimbo has not done. I don't think he cares. So, maybe not. By the way, of course, it's Thanksgiving week, and by the way, Bayou Bets will be on Wednesday this week instead of Thursday, so that we can all enjoy the holiday.
So will Datitude, by the way.
And so will Datitude. So we'll be off on Thursday, but there's football all weekend long. Of course, we know about the Thursday games and the weekend games. Friday's weird because there's usually some good college games. By far, I think the best college game of the day Friday is the Tulane Green Wave playing at Cincinnati for a spot in the not only a spot in the American title game, but to host the American Athletic Conference title game.
Cincinnati's ranked, correct?
I believe it's they're both ranked. Tulane's maybe 18, Cincinnati's 22, something like that.
61 in a row. Tulane has lost 61 games in a row against ranked teams.
That's a hell of a trend if you got to bet.
Tough. The last time Tulane beat a ranked team, I was in high school.
Yeah, well, they did beat Kansas State earlier in the year, who I'm guessing wasn't ranked at the time.
They weren't ranked at the time. Yeah, and that's one of those weird. Now, of course, we know that they're a good team, but I don't know. I mean, I kind of like Tulane, and if they win, by the way, they will play UCF most likely in the AAC championship game and kind of get a second chance at UCF, which did them a favor. They lost to Navy this week, so Tulane could still host the title game.
Yeah, I wouldn't. If that's another game. If you force me to bet, I'm going to bet on Cincinnati because I'm not bucking a trend of 61. Sorry.
61.
It's got to end at some point, man.
Yeah, right. But it might end. It might end at 108. Might end at 127. It's got to end sometime.
Can I get Zoe back on for an oofta? 61 in a row. That's bad, man.
Pretty bad.
But it's got to end sometime, right?
Exactly.
You say it's got to end. It doesn't have to end. Why does it have to end? I always say it's got to end sometime. Why?
I mean, I guess it could end after we all die, but I assume that they won't go the rest of human history without winning one of these.
Why are you assuming? It's
not like Cincinnati. It's not like we're talking top 10 ranked team. Like top 25. Just because you're top 25 doesn't mean you're that good.
One in a row. I mean, in
40 years back,
Tulane has had some decent seasons in 61 games. I mean, we're not talking about all 2-9 Tulane teams.
Yeah, they were undefeated in 1998. I just didn't play a top 25 team.
Which is hard to believe. It's hard to believe they didn't play a ranked team in 1998, but it just goes to show how faux that undefeated ranking was.
Speaking of bad, I guess
Jackson?
Oh gosh.
we were all
big. He's bad. He's really, really bad.
Bad this week.
This is your week, Zach. This is your week to pounce.
Hey, I won a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to win by default this week. Although I think, actually, Spencer, you may end up winning if the Niners don't cover -8 tonight.
I don't know how I'm .90 anything. I won my $1.10 bet, so that pays $1.
Yeah, you're right. I think you should be 107.
Yeah. So
yeah, I cost you a dime there. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'll take the dime.
Man, taking $.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I cost myself a lot more than that. So.
A couple of other things to get to here on Bayou Bets. If you're watching on the Bayou Bets YouTube channel, drop us a like or a subscribe, or head on over there and subscribe for us, and we will get you alerts on all of our shows, all of Jim's Datitudes, Tuesday Fantasy Roundup, Wednesday Bayou Bets this week. We did a special World Cup edition of Bayou Bets on Friday, Gabe and I.
Oh, thank God for that.
We thought about inviting you, but just...
I wish you would have. I mean, that would have really made my week.
Listen, none of us are going to get to 0, man. Come on. We're not that bad.
I'll be a hater.
Well, that's because if he were doing it, he'd already be at 0, and we don't allow negative numbers. So, Mr. 15-2.
Couple of other things. The New Orleans Pelicans do play tonight, their last of a 6-game homestand. I went to the game Friday, a pretty good game against Boston, but Celtics ultimately just shot the ball too well for the Pels to keep up. Pelicans are a 6-point favorite at home tonight against Golden State, and they're back out on the road.
Who's playing for the
Zion
Dubs?
Is back tonight.
Who's playing for the Dubs?
Oh, yeah, that line's moved a ton. That line's now at 10.5 because the Dubs ruled out Curry, Thompson, and Draymond.
That's a shame.
See, that's the second time they played in the Smoothie King Center, and the second time the Warriors have done that. That's really
Curry must hate the Smoothie King Center. He's like, rule me out for any games in New Orleans.
I don't think they play here again the rest of the year. So,
I think Zion's supposed to be back. So
I did get a hat. I'm sorry I didn't wear my hat today. I have a photo of my 7-year-old wearing that hat though, the Pelican hat.
Oh, I thought you were talking about your dunce cap.
I'll wear the dunce cap.
Yeah, we're all wearing that today.
I'll wear it for all of us today.
All right. Yeah. Behold Caesar.
Yeah. Pretty bad.
Caesar never wore chalice on his head, though.
Man.
All right. Let's look ahead. Thanksgiving Day is coming up. We can all be happy on Thanksgiving, even if we've lost some bets. Bills -9 at the Lions. Giants are +9 at the Cowboys, and then
that's ridiculous.
Does anybody ever learn that prime time Kirk Cousins should not be favored? Like, what are we doing?
He wasn't in prime time.
This is prime time, though. Here.
Oh, this is?
Yeah.
Okay, well. I think the Vikings are going to rebound. I
actually do, too. I don't know if I can bet it.
I don't know if I'm going to bet it either, but I'm not saying I'm going to bet it. It's definitely not going to be in my best bets. Well, I can't say definitely because I haven't done my analysis yet, but I can't see it being in my best bets, but at the same time, I mean, there's still no love for the Vikings, and there's even less love. I know the Giants lost to Detroit yesterday. I get that. It happens. But, I mean, come on, 9 points? That's absurd.
Yeah, and I mean that may be a
It's
function of
absurd.
because I think the look ahead line there was like 7.5.
That's part
But
of the
the
Cowboys going off.
Giants look terrible. Cowboys look great. And then
Cowboys looks like the worst team in the league in the fourth quarter against Green Bay.
yeah,
Goes to show that I was trying to tell y'all Green Bay is not,
Nick says the Vikings are frauds. That'll be an
because he
interesting
listens.
game.
You know why he says that? Because he listens to way too many sharp shows. He loves to listen to the sharp shows. They hate.
I actually think the under may be the play in that
And the
Patriots Vikings
Titans.
game. I'm not sure anybody's gonna if anybody's gonna be able to.
And he loves the Jags probably.
Oh, the Jags.
Trump's
Yeah,
still loving on the Jags. They still
got
can't
that.
get over it. I was listening to a show the other day. They were still talking good about the Jags. I'm like, dude, get off of it already. Trevor Lawrence is terrible and they're terrible. Stop it. Although I shouldn't say stop it because they should keep betting on the Jags to inflate their lines, and I keep getting value on the other side, whoever they're playing. So go ahead, keep betting on the Jags.
All right. Speaking of which, we'll look ahead to the weekend lines now. I don't. Kirk Cousins in primetime. I don't know how you can bet on that.
Yeah, the only thing I think for the Thanksgiving before we move on, the only Thanksgiving line I kind of like, and I know they haven't been firing on all cylinders lately, but I'm gonna go with it. I think the Bills get back on track and blow out Detroit.
They were on track yesterday.
Well, yeah, I mean, until this
They
first
covered.
half they weren't. I mean, I thought they pushed, didn't
No, they covered.
Then they
They were an 8-point favorite.
I think it was -8 on the closing line, so it's a push.
and then they win.
No, they won by
8,
9,
so
didn't they?
Pushed.
No, it's 31-23.
But they just, I mean, Josh Allen just didn't have his usual standard. I mean, I know his fantasy and betting's different, but I mean, for fantasy, he didn't do a whole lot.
He stunk. He's might cost me.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, their running game did good, but I just feel like this is a good spot for them to really, it'll be on Thanksgiving to really just, because Detroit will be riding a high, 3-game winning streak. I think they're going to come back.
Especially since they stayed in Detroit all week. That's only going to help them, I think.
Oh, wow.
I think they flew back. I think they flew back.
How could they even get back?
But it's only a 45-minute flight, so I don't.
Okay.
I honestly think that factor's overblown. I mean, 45-minute flight to sleep in your own bed is probably worth it. So, so those are Thursday. I mentioned Friday.
Hey, by the way,
usually there's
maybe Kirk Cousins liked turducken. Did you ever think of that? I mean, maybe he'll be trying to get that turkey leg.
Ooh.
I
don't know, though. I mean, he's so bad.
Has he ever played on Thanksgiving before?
I'm sure he has at some point.
I don't know. Yeah, probably. Okay, so that's Thursday. I mentioned the football Friday. Usually there's some real good college games on Friday. It's a little underwhelming. There's like North Carolina, NC State lost its luster because North Carolina lost last week. There are some Iowa, Nebraska. If Iowa wins, they go to the Big Ten championship game to be the sacrificial lamb against Ohio State or Michigan. So Friday there will be good betting. I don't know that there's any truly important games. And then, by the way, guys, we got this going on Friday. Hello,
God, thank God.
1 p.m. Got to take care of it. USA 5-1, or you can get a draw at +285. Any takers?
I'll take whatever you take.
I might take the draw. I think a draw is
Let's see the draw.
possible.
The
Yeah,
draw or
that's
a
probably what I'd
little
take.
both teams to score action might be okay. I think that's about +150.
By the way, Kirk Cousins has played on Thanksgiving twice. He is 1-1.
All right. I'll bet it wasn't a day game or a night game though.
Actually,
Yeah, I
they
mean,
were
against Bill Belichick. I just
one
take
was
the under. Take the under. And
one was a night game. One was a day game. He lost the day game and won the night game.
I guess he has won night games then.
He beat the Giants on November the 23rd, 2017.
Okay. All right.
20-10 as a Redskin.
Maybe Thanksgiving is not is like not part of the Kirk Cousins primetime curse.
Yeah, maybe it's just Monday nights or something. Monday nights, him and Andy Dalton. I mean, that's just like they might as well not even show up. They're so bad.
Yeah.
All
right. So then, so we have USA England Friday as well as a bunch of college football. Saturday college football. The big one, of course, is, I mean, by God, they call it the big game. Michigan at Ohio State. Buckeyes laying 7.5, guys.
LSU fans need to root for Ohio State, and I'm going to tell you why. Because Ohio State, unless they get blown out by Michigan, is going to make the playoff, and Michigan needs to win to make the playoff, in my opinion. So if LSU has any chance, and they're going to go and beat Texas A&M and then beat Georgia, the only way they're going to get to the the playoffs is if Ohio State loses. If Michigan loses.
I think you're going to disagree with me, Jim. I think they also need, not necessarily this week, but either this week or next week, either a TCU loss or a USC loss.
Whatever. Get out of here. Stop that.
They can't.
Yeah,
USC passed them.
USC passed
in the AP.
Yeah.
In the AP poll. Who cares?
Well,
yeah,
CFP will put, if USC wins out, USC's getting in because they love them some Caleb Williams, West Coast, and all that. I'm telling you, they will put them in.
First of all, it's going to be a moot point because LSU's not going to beat Georgia. Okay, but
for sure. If they do,
if LSU runs through and beats Georgia, they will not and cannot leave LSU out. Period. Amen. They will not leave LSU out.
I'll tell you what, then Georgia.
So you can pick whichever one you want to take out. Georgia's not being left out either. Georgia's not being unless for some weird, wacky reason LSU won by like 17 or something. Georgia's not getting left out. You don't go from number 1 and you're in the SEC to being left out. It's not going to happen. It never has happened. It's not going to happen.
A one-loss Power 5 conference champion has
lost
never been left out over a non-champion.
LSU made the national championship game as a 2-loss team. And then
because there were no other choices. Because there were no other choices.
Well, I'm going to go back and look at that.
Too.
I'm just not buying it. I'm sorry. They're not going to leave LSU out. I do think that TCU's in if they win, no matter what. I agree with y'all. USC, I don't know why y'all are overranking USC.
I feel like even if LSU's better than USC, which I think they probably are, but the committee is not going to. Not this because there's going to be too much backlash because SEC bias. They don't want to have Pac-12 or
they don't have anyone to answer to. They don't care about backlash. They could care less. There's been backlash galore for the last 5 years.
But here's the thing: is you're saying it's all about money and it's all about the SEC, but USC also plays in a huge market and is an old blood.
They
college
play in a huge market that doesn't give a rat's patoot about sports.
Los
Angeles does not care about sports. California in general doesn't care about sports.
I have been to USC games with 90,000 people at them where they rush the field. I've been there. I've been to LSU too, and I've been to USC.
There's a reason why Rams games, even when the Rams were super good last year, there were just as many of the other team's fans. People in Los Angeles don't go to football games. You're talking about just USC is a student-based thing. So, yeah, the students of USC go to the games. There's
90,000 students there?
There's 15,000, 20,000 students. The rest are all just whatever. I'm telling you right now that they don't bring in Los Angeles. You can laugh all you want, Spencer. You can go look at it. Los Angeles teams don't bring rankings. They don't care about Los Angeles teams. TV people don't care about Los Angeles teams.
USC, come on, USC. When I was growing up, Reggie Bush and stuff. USC was like the darling team. They were the gold standard.
You're talking about one season when they played Texas in the national championship game in 2006. It was 2005 season. That's one season. Other than that, no one cares about USC or UCLA or any of those teams.
Chances are this all gets worked out because
I agree.
These teams are not done losing. Yeah, there's still 2 weeks full of tough games.
Yeah, they could lose.
But the committee nightmare, and you guys are proving it with this argument, the committee nightmare is LSU beats Texas A&M and Georgia. Georgia beats Georgia Tech and then loses. And then TCU and USC both win out. Because then somebody is going to have a total beef with getting left out. You've got to leave somebody out.
Yeah, there's about a 2% chance that happens anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it'll. And honestly,
didn't USC play Oregon?
They'll probably play Oregon in the
They're not going to beat Oregon.
It has not been determined yet. It could still be Washington or Utah. It could still be Washington or Utah, but that all depends on.
I will say this: if TCU and USC do make it, and they play Georgia and Ohio State respectively, they will get blown off the face of the earth.
But that's not the criteria.
That's what I disagree with. I think that is part of the criteria.
If that were the criteria, then let Alabama in because all the betting markets will tell you Alabama's the third best team in the country.
I think so. No. I'm not saying that's the only criteria, but I think that is part of the criteria. I don't think they want blowouts in games. I think if they can avoid them, they will. Now, if TCU goes undefeated, they don't have a choice. They have to let TCU in. They're going to let TCU in.
If TCU loses, let's say they lose to Kansas State in the Big 12 title game, and USC loses either to Notre Dame or to Oregon or Washington, or if they play in the Pac-12 title game.
Opens the door for Alabama.
Clemson.
Well, Michigan,
I was going to bring up
Michigan.
Clemson still only got one loss. I mean, Clemson still only got one loss.
Ooh, yeah, that would be sad if they get in.
I don't think they want Clemson
Clemson's
in there.
not good. I think USC is better than Clemson.
I mean, I agree with you, but if USC loses again, they're not going to take them over.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
I know.
in a chaos scenario where everybody loses again, you're going to have Georgia, you're going to have the Michigan-Ohio State winner, and then you still need two more teams.
Yeah, because then you would have, against Michigan, you'd have two big
is it Michigan and Clemson then?
It's not Michigan. Yeah. Michigan. Here's the thing. I think Michigan's going to get blown out. Okay, Michigan gets blown out. There is no scenario in which Michigan gets in. There's no.
But they'd
scenario.
only have one loss.
Doesn't matter if you lose.
Who else would you put in at that?
It doesn't matter if you lose.
One loss TCU.
Doesn't matter if you lose in the last week of the season by 20. No matter who you lose to, you're not getting in.
Because there's no way they can put Alabama in.
Nebraska got in after losing to Colorado by like 30 points. And
when is that? Were you like
2001? Yeah, no, it was like 2001. I was like 17.
I was 3 years old.
Yeah, Spencer might have been 3, but
I mean, did they
Alan
have
says,
TVs
"Who that
then?
Saints, y'all?" Hey, Alan. And speaking of the Saints, we'll pivot, talk some NFL. This is the Sunday games. We went through the Thursday games. These all on Sunday. Any lines stick out to you? The Titans actually look like, to me, they're getting a little bit of respect here finally, Jim.
Really? They're at home getting a 1.5 points from the Bengals. I don't think they're getting any love at all. They're being disrespected completely. There's no way they should be underdogs in that game. What have the Bengals done? What have the Bengals done to prove that they should be favored on the road against defending AFC champions who are going to win their division again? Nothing.
Wait, which one's the defending AFC champion?
The Bengals.
Yeah.
So
I think the reason for that line is because I was
the Bengals went there and beat them in the playoffs last year.
In an overtime slosher, not overtime. Sorry, it was the last play of the game. Evan McPherson kicked the field goal to make it 19-16.
Yeah, so I'm saying
the Titans had to turn the ball over 4 times for the Bengals to win. The Bengals lost to the Browns. I have no respect for them.
Kyle, what's your? Because I like the Bucs a lot in that spot. I'm not sure what side you were looking at, but I think
that's too easy.
The Browns are.
That line smells. I'll be taking the Browns in that game. That is way too weird.
Yeah, another one that looks weird, man. That Seahawks line. Why are they only -4?
I was thinking the same thing.
Me,
smash the Seahawks, but that smells stinks.
That's going to probably be a best bet. Seahawks over a -4 is probably.
The only thing I'll say there is that the Seahawks haven't been favored by more than 3 against anybody all year. So is this their easiest game of the year?
So far.
I mean, maybe it is.
I mean,
I know they've been playing well, but
you can't think the Raiders are good because they beat the Broncos, because the Broncos are awful. I mean, good God, that was bad. That game was awful.
God. Yeah, if it wasn't for Devontae Adams, that would have ended in a tie.
I agree.
And Seattle, by the way, also coming off the bye there, so they get that advantage as well.
Also, these are all some weird lines, to be honest. I mean, you brought the Saints being 8.5 point favorites. So I did some research. They have only been 8.5 or more point underdogs. Yeah, 8.5 point or more underdogs. This will just be the 13th time this century.
Wow.
I mean, it's insane. I mean,
most of those in the 05 season, I bet too.
A few of them in 05. I had to go back and look, and I will do it again. But it was only one. I think once since 2013. So that's pretty strange, pretty scary.
But I mean, if you follow the Saints like we all have, and like the people watching have, it's hard to say it's not justified. I mean, does anybody think they're going to go to San Francisco and win that game, or even keep it within a touchdown?
No, they're going to get smacked. It's going to be ugly.
I can't really disagree with that. I'd like to think maybe they could stay in it if they get some turnovers, but what has this team shown to think that they're going to get turnovers? They've been the opposite of that. They're the ones turning it over. So
I actually saw, and I really try to stay off social media on Sundays because I'm off, and I can't stand people. But getting on there and just
you can't stand people. Quoted a year there.
I mean, there were people actually talking good about Andy Dalton. Like the people that were like on the Andy Dalton I hate Jameis camp, they came out of the woodwork yesterday. I thought they'd just be quiet.
He had a good game. He had a good
Oh
game.
no.
Yeah.
He had a good game. I'm not denying that. I don't take it away that he had a good game, not a great game, by the way. He wasn't nearly as good as his stats showed. Alvin Kamara was standing alone on about the 5-yard line. Like literally, there was no one 30 yards around him, and Dalton didn't see him to throw him the ball. I think it was near the end of the first half. And instead check down Andy, like just tossed it off to the right side somewhere. But anyway, the pass he made to Olave was fantastic. But there were actually people like, see, I told you Andy Dalton was good. I'm like, wow. I mean,
he's going to have to show. And look,
People
the Rams are one of the worst rushing teams in the NFL.
They
the
are.
Saints have had trouble stopping the run. The 49ers are the exact opposite of that.
Second.
Like, this is
Second
a
in the NFL.
bad.
It's a
bad,
recipe for
bad
disaster.
Matchup. Yeah, it's a bad matchup for the Saints. I don't like it at all.
We'll
talk more about
It's got 4 turnovers written all over.
And that was one. The Saints didn't turn the ball over yesterday.
Yeah.
This is what I've been
What a
saying all
concept.
year. If they could play clean games, they'd be 6-5. Let's give them two extra wins if they could just play clean games, and they'd be in the playoff hunt. All right, we'll talk more about that on Wednesday. That's a reminder. Bayou Bets 4:00 Wednesday this week, so that everyone can enjoy their Thanksgiving, their football, their food, and their family. Monday Night Football tonight. Final thoughts, guys. How about a pick on Cardinals and Niners -10 tonight in Mexico City?
I know there is Colt McCoy is going to be playing for the Cardinals, but which is why this line jacked from 8 to 10. It's too many points to give in a division game, even if it is in Mexico City. I think that this is one of those games. There's going to be a lot of field goals kicked. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game, like the under. And I like San Francisco. I mean, I like Arizona to cover. I don't think they win the game, but I do think it's going to be a lot closer than people think.
So maybe like 24-17, 21-17, something like that.
Yeah, something along
Spencer?
those lines.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I had that for best bets today, under 43. I feel like that total's not too high there. I think it'll go under that. The spread. Actually, for the alternate play, I normally do like the spread and the total. But today I did an NBA parlay. I stayed away from the total because I feel like it could go either one of two ways. It could go to where like the Cardinals could keep it close with Colt McCoy, or it could just be a deal where the 49ers defense comes out and just completely smothers the Cardinals to where I guess if I had to pick, I'd probably go 49ers. I don't see the Cardinals doing much. I think Colt McCoy gets smacked by freaking Nick Bosa and them boys.
Yeah, I tend to lean with Spencer. I think this game, I don't know if it gets ugly, but it just I could see the 49ers just suffocating them and winning, 20-7.
Let's see where Mabel is. Y'all want to see where Mabel is? I have it up right here.
Jimmy GQ can't blow
the Niners, I'm sure.
But the defense can blow them out, Nick. They get a couple turnovers, hold Colt McCoy to 7 points. It doesn't take much from Jimmy to a couple of touchdowns, and it's 21-6, and that's all she wrote. So we'll see.
Actually,
what you got, Jim?
Arizona's collected 58.4% of the tickets and 55.1% of the money.
Interesting. So the public's more on them.
One Louisiana bettor put $130,000 on the Niners at -8.
$130,000.
It wasn't me, but I do like.
Man.
I put $13 on the Niners -8.
Here
33 actually.
Here's something to bet against.
My unit's a grand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. You don't have anything else to do.
Just Uncle Big Nick, resident Niners fan, did that.
You be in.
Yeah. Why not?
He took his Adam Svensson winnings.
Here's the George Kittle receptions over 4.5. Here's why you should go bet the under. There's 2 reasons. B, he's on my fantasy team, and I really need him to score tonight to win, so he's not going to do that. And B, 99.1% of the tickets and 99.9% of the money is on the over on George Kittle's receptions prop.
99. So there's like one person in that bet the under.
1 out of 100 somewhere.
Jeez.
Very interesting game I have my eye on for next week because I'm thinking about I have to pick 2 teams in Survivor. Assuming I can survive the Niners tonight, I got to survive this week. And I'm taking the Dolphins against Houston as one of my picks next week. But I've got to pick another one, and I'm looking at the Jets against the Justin Fields-less Bears. But Robert Saleh came out today and said Zach Wilson may not start for the Jets. So it could be Joe Flacco time.
Who's
And I don't
better?
know if I want
Mike White. Mike White's their new backup.
Mike
I think
White,
it would
yeah.
be Mike White.
Mike White actually played well in that first game that he jumped in. He threw for like 400 yards last year.
Yeah, I
And then
remember
the next
that,
game
yeah.
he come in and he stunk up the joint.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it looked
I
like
remember
PJ
being
Walker
in
this year.
super flex leagues. I very much remember that.
Yeah. So,
All right.
by the way, y'all can help me out. I have a huge money line parlay. Well, not huge, but huge by my standards. Okay. I'm not Uncle Big Nick here. So I have a money line parlay. I already won the first 2 legs. I did this 3 days ago, and I have the Niners tonight. Should I hedge and bet on the Cardinals, or take the 10 points, and that way I could win both? Or how would you attack that?
I don't mind that. I also don't mind, maybe if the Niners get out, they score the first touchdown, that line jumps up to 14.5 or something, and then you've really got a window.
But what if the Cardinals score?
Yeah, I mean that's obviously the risk is, but I just don't. Colt McCoy can't beat the 49ers tonight. I feel confident in saying that.
Why not?
Because he's Colt McCoy.
He's
I know, but the Niners have been known to not show up at different games.
And
That's what
the
scares
Cardinals
me.
do actually have a history. That's one of the things. The Niners own the Rams, but the Cardinals own the Niners. So it's been a weird series.
The weird division.
I sure as heck
Yeah.
hope the Niners win, though. I'll tell you that.
Well,
all right.
I just hope that we beat England on Friday, so you won't be moping around during the holidays weekend.
Oh, I'm not in a good way, guys. After that draw today, that left a bitter taste in my mouth.
That's because all
right.
those flops.
Here's our week. Fantasy roundup 2:00 tomorrow. Spencer and I. Bayou Bets back Wednesday at 4:00. Wednesday at 4:00. And then Jim, you've got Datitude Wednesday morning and Friday morning.
No, we're not going to do Friday.
No Friday.
We're just doing
Okay, so
Wednesday.
just Wednesday morning, and then enjoy the holiday on Thursday. We'll see you one more time Friday. I'm sorry, Wednesday. We're going to see you Wednesday at 4:00. Wednesday at 4:00.
Just
We're
show
gonna get
up.
you set for the holiday weekend. Be here and fade our big bucks picks. Jesus, you'll make some money. If you do that.
We're going to win this week.
Yeah, we might bounce back.
Except maybe
surprise you.
Spencer. I don't think Spencer's.
Until then, for Spencer the Guru and Jim Derry and our producer Zoe, I'm Zach Ewing. Have a good day, everybody.